In June 2011, 940 delegates from all over Australia gathered in Canberra for the National General Assembly of the Australian Local Government Association. The contribution of local government to our national well-being can be measured in economic and social terms, and by the way it enhances our democratic way of life. It should be recognised in our national constitution, alongside state, territory and Commonwealth governments. But it is not. At the heart of the General Assembly was the federal government's announcement of an expert panel, whose report will lead to a referendum by 2013 on constitutional recognition. Local government is suggesting a simple amendment to Section 96 of the Constitution, which would allow the Commonwealth to provide funding directly to local government in the same way that it already does for state governments.
It gives me very great pleasure to welcome you here to the 2011 National General Assembly for Local Government. This year is the 17th National General Assembly for Local Government. And can I also acknowledge the Ngunnawal people and pay respects to their elders past and present.
It's great to be here with you and to be able to join you for the start of this major event. We do want to work in a spirit of partnership with you, which is why I've come along today to verify the degree of the partnership between us. Now, local government is a sophisticated partner, providing a range of services to the community and working with state governments and with us for development and change. So in those circumstances, it is absolutely the right time to acknowledge in our Constitution the key role of local government. We want to make sure that this referendum succeeds, and to do that we need to work with you in a spirit of partnership. I want to conclude by talking to you about the role that you played during our recent summer of natural disasters. You were there on the front line, offering the reassurance, offering the contact, offering the services that helped get communities through.
Labor governments have always believed in the importance of recognising local government in the Constitution. So we have been having important discussions already with Genia and her board about how to advance this. To assist in the progression of this exercise, we will be establishing a panel of experts to look at the issues and advise us as to how this progresses. I'm pleased to be able to say today that that panel will be headed up by the Honourable James Spiegelman AC. Jim Spiegelman is a highly esteemed former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of New South Wales. The other members we will be announcing shortly. This will be an important panel to engage with, and we look to Elgar giving strong leadership and strong strategic advice as to how we take this forward.
The first panel session discussed how to campaign to secure support for the referendum. On the panel was Dr. John Hewson, economist and financial expert, Jane Caro, social commentator and communications consultant, and Annabelle Crabb, political commentator. They were first asked when such a campaign should begin.
I'd be starting now. You will be doing that part of it constantly if you're going to do it particularly personally. And as a mayor, constantly be pushing this referendum with everything else that you're talking about.
I think a big problem with this one is people will think, I don't know, I didn't know that local government wasn't in the Constitution, isn't it? So you've got to communicate properly the reasoning behind the urgency of this situation.
This is a complicated issue to the average Joe. You want to change Section 96 of the Constitution to include local government as well as state government. You can imagine the average guy around the pub saying, Christ, what's that all about? You know, and suspicion is easy to create in those circumstances.
In a way, my instinct is more and more play it really cool, play it like it's not a big deal, have the information there. It's a neat little thing we need to do to make sure that things don't go wrong in the future. I would be hesitant to really start to try to get your population to understand the complexities of this.
That's why the foundation is so important, because the foundation question here is not, shall we change Section 96? It's, am I aware of what this organisation does and do I value it?
Third-year communications students from the University of Canberra, Tiffany Hart and Jack Sheeran, were invited to produce advertisements that could serve as discussion starters. They rose to the challenge.
Stuck in a place where I cannot face the mirror. It's my life.
A lot of advertising fails to trust the audience. Your audience will feel what you want them to feel when you show them those pictures.
The thing that I like about it is that it only features people in the community. It's not a political ad in the sense that you've got someone pressing the flesh there that kind of hits all of those cynical buttons about what is this about. It's about just sort of open your eyes and look around. I think that is absolutely the right way to approach this issue.
The truth isn't always what you want to hear, and neither is it what you want to tell. When you've had a hard road, a dark...
I think it's really good, and I think it's doing a lot of the things we were talking about, making the overt, the covert overt, so we see what services, get people thinking about it.
Open up, you can't wait forever. Give it up.
So I tend to think that the purpose of those ads should be, firstly, to get people to think about this range of services that they perhaps take for granted, and then challenge them to think about not taking them for granted.
The panel was also asked how local government should respond if the yes case for the referendum was misrepresented in the media.
Make sure that you have enough contact with your community that unfair reporting or inaccuracies won't stick. You know, I think that the relationship that you have with your constituency is the most powerful thing of all.
And I think the essence is who decides what the real issue is. That's the problem, because the media decides that for them the real issue is who their audience is and what they're going to respond to positively. So the problem is the real issue doesn't actually exist. There's just a whole lot of different ones depending on what perspective you're coming from. And in a way, that's what the media are always looking for, that gap between what people say and what they do. So you need to make sure, if you want to get over distrust, what you say and what you do are the same thing.
Thank you very much, Jane, John and Annabelle, for your contribution and insights. It was a really great session. Many of you may remember that in 2008 we convened a special, indeed the Constitutional Summit in Melbourne. At this summit, delegates unanimously agreed to pursue constitutional recognition of local government. ALGA's own research has led us to determine that the best option and tactics for constitutional change is a simple, practical, and mostly to gain bipartisan support, is this question of financial recognition. Our advice to the government is that financial recognition in the form of a simple change to Section 96 of the Constitution by simply adding 3 words, and local government, to that section that allows direct funding. On our website, all information, submissions and new material will be available, so we can assist you and your council in ensuring the panel is absolutely clear about what our objectives are. It's critical we now reinforce the vital role that your council plays in your community. You need to educate your community. In the first instance, to strengthen the support for your role and the services and infrastructure you provide in your communities. Then we need to explain why constitutional reform is necessary and what it means to every member of our community.
The leaders of all political parties and the independents in Parliament have given their support to constitutional recognition of local government. The 2011 National General Assembly was the biggest assembly on record. The commitments made by the Prime Minister and the major parties are evidence of local government's place in the nation's governance and of the important partnership between the federal government and the local government. We now await the report of the expert panel and the announcement of the referendum.